My friends, too often we believe that being nice means saying yes to everything, never disagreeing, and allowing others to walk over us. We think that if we just smile, if we just keep quiet, if we just go along with what others want, then we will be loved, accepted, and valued. But the truth is, when we live this way, we lose something far greater. We lose ourselves. God did not call us to be people pleasers. He called us to be people of truth, of integrity, of strength. Jesus himself was full of love, of grace, but he was not afraid to stand firm. He overturned the tables in the temple when he saw corruption. He spoke boldly to those who needed correction. He did not compromise who he was to win the approval of men. He lived to fulfill the purpose of God. Some of you are tired today. You have been giving and giving, always putting others first, always doing what is expected, and yet inside you feel empty. You feel unseen. You feel exhausted. But I want to tell you something. There is a difference between being kind and being a doormat. There is a difference between showing love and sacrificing your peace. God created you with purpose, with vision, with a calling on your life. He did not place you here just to make everyone else comfortable while you shrink back. He calls you to love others, but he also calls you to love yourself. He calls you to serve, but he also calls you to walk in wisdom. When you stop saying yes to everything, when you stop living for the approval of others, you will find freedom. Some may not like it. Some may call you selfish. Some may walk away. But hear me, those who truly love you, who truly value you, they will respect the boundaries you set. And even if some turn their backs, you are never alone. God is with you. He is your strength, your guide, your foundation. So walk in boldness, speak the truth in love, set your feet on solid ground and do not waver. You are not here to be controlled by the opinions of men. You are here to fulfill the calling of God. Being nice at all costs leads to losing yourself. Constantly pleasing others can make you feel unseen, exhausted, and unfulfilled. Jesus was loving but firm. He showed grace but also stood for truth, corrected wrongdoing, and did not compromise his mission for approval. Kindness is not weakness. There is a difference between showing love and allowing yourself to be taken advantage of. God calls you to value yourself too. Serving others is important, but not at the expense of your own peace and purpose. Setting boundaries brings freedom. Saying no to constant demands allows you to live with integrity and purpose. Not everyone will approve, but God is with you. Some may resist or walk away, but true relationships will respect your strength and God will always guide you. Too often, people equate kindness with constantly saying yes, always being available, and never expressing their true feelings. Society teaches that being agreeable, avoiding conflict, and making others comfortable is the way to be liked and accepted. While kindness is a virtue, there is a fine line between being compassionate and losing yourself in the process. Many people go through life trying to be what everyone else expects, afraid that saying no or standing up for themselves will make them unlikable or cause them to lose relationships. But the reality is, when you live only to please others, you begin to lose touch with who you truly are. Living in a state of constant people-pleasing is exhausting. You wake up every day carrying the weight of others' expectations, trying to mold yourself into whatever they need you to be. You agree to plans you don't want to be part of, take on responsibilities that drain you, and keep silent even when something deep inside tells you to speak up. At first, it may seem like the right thing to do because it avoids conflict and keeps peace. But over time, a heavy burden builds. You begin to feel unseen, unappreciated, and disconnected from your own desires and needs. God did not create you to live under the control of others' opinions. He did not place you here to be a shadow in someone else's story. He made you unique with your own thoughts, feelings, and purpose. When you constantly put others before yourself to the point where your own needs are ignored, you are not walking in the identity He gave you. True kindness does not mean sacrificing your well-being just to make others happy. True kindness is rooted in love, but love also includes honesty, strength, and self-respect. Many people fear that if they stop being excessively nice, they will lose friends, disappoint family, or be judged. But ask yourself this: if your worth to someone is based only on what you do for them, is that real love? Real relationships, whether friendships, family bonds, or partnerships, should not be dependent on your willingness to always comply. A true friend, a true loved one, will not walk away simply because you start valuing yourself. They will understand, they will respect your boundaries, and they will support your need to grow. There comes a point where you must choose between being what others want and being who you were created to be. When you stop saying yes to everything, when you stop bending over backward just to gain approval, something powerful happens. You start living in truth. You begin to recognize what really matters to you. You start making decisions that align with your values rather than what others expect. And most importantly, you regain a sense of self-worth that is not tied to how much you can give or how much you can sacrifice. Some may resist your change. Some may accuse you of being selfish. But understand this: protecting your peace is not selfish. Prioritizing your well-being is not wrong. Even Jesus, who was the ultimate example of love and selflessness, took time away to pray, to rest, and to be alone. He never let the opinions of others dictate his purpose. He never allowed pressure from the crowd to push him off course. He showed us that love includes wisdom, and part of wisdom is knowing when to give and when to step back. If you continue living only to keep others happy, you will never fully experience the life God intended for you. He wants you to walk in freedom, not in the fear of disappointing others. He wants you to live with purpose, not just to survive under the weight of expectations. And when you begin to live in alignment with who you truly are, the right people will stay. The ones who truly love you will respect the strength it takes to stand firm in who God created you to be. Many people have the wrong idea about what it means to be loving. They assume that love means always being agreeable, never challenging, and constantly giving in to others. But when we look at the life of Jesus, we see a different picture. Jesus was full of love, full of grace, and full of mercy, but he was never weak. He did not hesitate to speak the truth, even when it was unpopular. He did not compromise his values to make others feel comfortable. He loved people enough to correct them, to challenge them, and to stand firm in righteousness. One of the clearest examples of this was when he overturned the tables of the money changers in the temple. Many people have an image of Jesus as always gentle and soft-spoken, but in that moment he showed righteous anger. He saw that the house of God was being turned into a marketplace, a place of greed instead of worship. Instead of standing by and watching it happen, instead of staying silent to avoid offending anyone, he took action. He drove out those who were misusing the temple, declaring, "My house shall be called a house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves." That was not the response of someone who was afraid of upsetting people. That was the response of someone who knew the difference between being kind and standing for truth. Jesus also spoke boldly to the Pharisees, the religious leaders of his time. He called them hypocrites because they cared more about outward appearances than about true righteousness. He did not flatter them. He did not try to win their approval. And he did not change his message to make them like him. Instead, he told them the truth, even though he knew it would make them angry. He loved them enough to correct them, even though it was him. That is real love, love that cares more about someone's soul than about whether or not they like you. Many people today struggle with this. They think that if they stand firm, if they speak up for what is right, they will push people away. They worry that being direct or setting boundaries will make them unlikable. But Jesus showed us that true love is not about pleasing everyone, it is about living in truth. He did not compromise his mission just to gain popularity. There were times when people walked away from him because they did not like what he had to say. There were times when crowds turned against him because his words challenged them. But he never changed his message to fit their expectations. He never allowed their opinions to shake his purpose. This does not mean that we should be harsh or unkind. Jesus was always compassionate, always patient, and always willing to forgive. But he was also strong. He did not let people take advantage of him, and he did not allow the fear of offending someone to keep him from speaking the truth. That is the balance we must learn. It is possible to be both loving and firm. It is possible to be kind while also standing your ground. The world needs more people who are willing to live like Jesus, people who are full of love but also full of strength. People who will not compromise their values just to be liked. People who will speak truth even when it is hard. People who will set boundaries and walk in wisdom. That is the kind of love that changes lives. That is the kind of love that leads people closer to God. Many people confuse kindness with weakness. They believe that being a good person means always saying yes, never disagreeing, and allowing others to treat them however they please. But true kindness is not about being passive. True kindness does not mean allowing yourself to be mistreated, manipulated, or taken for granted. There is a significant difference between being kind and being a doormat. Kindness is a fruit of the Spirit. It is something God calls us to show in our daily lives. But biblical kindness is not about pleasing people at the expense of your own well-being. Jesus was the perfect example of kindness, yet he was never weak. He healed the sick, comforted the broken, and showed compassion to sinners, but he also confronted hypocrisy, set boundaries, and stood firm in truth. He did not let people walk over him. He did not allow others to dictate his purpose. He did not hesitate to call out wrongdoing when necessary. That is because kindness and strength go hand in hand. Too many people go through life trying to keep the peace by avoiding confrontation, staying silent when they should speak up, and letting others take advantage of their generosity. They assume that this is what it means to be a kind and loving person. But kindness does not mean being silent when someone disrespects you. Kindness does not mean constantly giving without ever receiving. Kindness does not mean tolerating behavior that harms you emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. True kindness has boundaries. It understands that love includes wisdom. If you give everything you have, if you constantly put others first while neglecting yourself, you will eventually have nothing left to give. You will become drained, exhausted, and resentful. That is not what God intended for you. He did not create you to be used by others. He created you with value, with worth, with a purpose beyond being a people pleaser. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to say no. Sometimes the most Christ-like thing you can do is to walk away from toxic relationships. Jesus did not chase after people who rejected him. When the rich young ruler turned away, Jesus let him go. He did not beg him to stay, and he did not change his message to make it more appealing. He understood that love does not mean forcing yourself into places where you are not valued. Kindness also means telling the truth, even when it is difficult. Many people avoid hard conversations because they fear upsetting others. But real kindness is not about making people feel good in the moment. It is about caring for their long-term well-being. If you see someone heading down a destructive path, it is not kind to stay silent. If someone's actions are hurting you, it is not kind to pretend everything is fine. Speaking the truth in love is one of the greatest acts of kindness you can offer. God wants his people to be strong and courageous. He wants them to walk in love, but he also wants them to walk in wisdom. Kindness is not about allowing yourself to be mistreated. It is about treating others with love while also respecting yourself. It is about being compassionate while also standing firm in truth. It is about serving others while also maintaining the boundaries needed to protect your heart, your mind, and your purpose. When you understand that kindness is not weakness, you begin to live with confidence. You stop living for the approval of others and start living in alignment with the truth of who God created you to be. You begin to recognize that your worth is not measured by how much you give or how much you sacrifice. You are valuable not because of what you do for others, but because God has placed a purpose within you. And when you walk in that truth, you are able to show true kindness, the kind that is rooted in love, wisdom, and strength. Many people live their lives believing that love means always putting others first, always making sacrifices, and never considering their own needs. They have been taught that prioritizing themselves is selfish, that their worth is measured by how much they give, and that being a good person means constantly pouring into others even when they have nothing left. But this is not the life God intended. God calls us to love others, but He also calls us to value ourselves. He calls us to serve, but He also calls us to walk in wisdom. There must be balance, or else the very love we try to give will become empty and drained. Jesus was the perfect example of selflessness, yet even He took time to rest, to pray, and to step away from the demands of the crowds. He healed the sick, fed the hungry, and taught the multitudes, but He also withdrew to be alone with the Father. He did not allow Himself to be constantly pulled in every direction. He understood that in order to fulfill His purpose, He needed time to recharge, to be refreshed, and to strengthen His spirit. If Jesus, the Son of God, needed moments of rest, then why do so many people believe that they must always be available, always giving, always meeting the expectations of others, without ever taking a moment for themselves? One of the biggest traps people fall into is thinking that their value is tied to how much they do for others. They believe that if they stop saying yes to everything, they will be seen as uncaring or unkind. But true love does not mean exhausting yourself for the sake of others. True love is not about neglecting your own needs in order to gain approval. When you constantly give without taking the time to replenish yourself, you will eventually run dry. You will find yourself burned out, emotionally drained, and struggling to find joy in the very things you once loved to do. God did not design you to live in a constant state of exhaustion. He created you with a purpose, and part of that purpose is to take care of yourself as well. Loving yourself does not mean being selfish. It means recognizing that you are also one of God's creations, worthy of care, respect, and renewal. When you begin to see yourself through God's eyes, you understand that you do not have to prove your worth through endless sacrifices. Your value comes from Him, not from how much you do for others. Some people may not understand when you start prioritizing your well-being. They may question why you are setting boundaries, why you are taking time for yourself, why you are no longer saying yes to everything. But those who truly love and respect you will see that you are not rejecting them. You are simply honoring yourself in the same way God calls you to honor others. Relationships built on real love and respect will not fall apart because you choose to take care of yourself. In fact, they will grow stronger because you will be able to show up fully with a heart that is not burdened by exhaustion and resentment. When you love yourself as God calls you to, you will begin to experience freedom. You will no longer live under the pressure of constantly meeting others' demands. You will no longer feel guilty for taking time to rest, to grow, and to care for your own needs. And as you walk in that freedom, you will be able to love others more deeply. Not out of obligation, but out of a place of genuine joy and strength. Because when you are filled with God's love, you will have even more to give, not from a place of emptiness, but from a heart that is whole, renewed, and ready to serve with wisdom and grace. For so long, people have been conditioned to believe that saying yes to everything is a sign of kindness, that being available at all times is proof of love, and that sacrificing personal peace is the price of being a good parent. But living this way comes at a cost. When you constantly say yes to every request, every demand, and every expectation, you end up overwhelmed, exhausted, and stretched too thin. You begin to lose sight of your own priorities, your own dreams, and even your own identity. The truth is, constantly pleasing others does not bring real peace. It brings stress, frustration, and resentment. Setting boundaries is not about being unkind. It is about recognizing your limits and understanding that you cannot give your best to others if you are running on empty. When you start saying no to things that drain you, you create space for what truly matters. You begin to invest your time and energy in the things that align with your purpose, rather than being pulled in every direction by obligations that were never yours to carry. There is a difference between serving with love and being used. There is a difference between helping others and being burdened by responsibilities that were never meant for you. Jesus Himself set boundaries during His ministry. He did not heal everyone in every town he passed through. He did not meet every single demand placed on him. There were times when he withdrew to pray, times when he rested, times when he walked away from crowds that wanted him to perform miracles on their terms. He was never controlled by pressure or manipulated into overextending himself. He stayed focused on his mission, doing what the Father called him to do, not what people expected of him. That is the example we should follow. The moment you start setting boundaries, you will notice a change in how people react. Some will understand, respect, and support your decision to protect your time and energy. Others may resist, question, or even criticize you. They may accuse you of being selfish because they have grown accustomed to your constant availability. But their response does not define you. You are not responsible for meeting every expectation that others place on you. You are responsible for following God's direction for your life. Saying no does not mean rejecting people. It means choosing wisely where to invest your efforts. It means recognizing that your time and energy are valuable. It means understanding that you cannot pour into others if you are spiritually, emotionally, and physically drained. When you say no to things that do not serve your purpose, you are actually saying yes to peace, to clarity, to growth, and to the things that truly matter. The freedom that comes with setting boundaries is life-changing. You no longer feel pressured to meet unrealistic expectations. You no longer feel obligated to carry burdens that were never meant for you. Instead, you begin to walk in purpose, making choices that align with your values. You stop living under the weight of guilt and start embracing the joy of a life led by wisdom. The relationships that are built on love and respect will not be damaged by your boundaries. In fact, they will be strengthened because people will begin to see and appreciate the real you, not just someone who says yes out of obligation, but someone who gives from a place of love and intention. When you learn to say no, you begin to reclaim your peace. You begin to understand that love is not about constantly sacrificing yourself, but about giving with a heart that is full, not exhausted. And in that freedom, you find the strength to live a life that is not controlled by others' expectations, but guided by God's purpose for you. When you begin to set boundaries, when you stop saying yes to everything, and when you start prioritizing your well-being, not everyone will understand. Some people have grown used to your constant availability, your willingness to meet their needs without question, and your habit of putting their comfort before your own. The moment you begin to change, some may resist, criticize, or even try to make you feel guilty. They may say you are selfish, that you have changed, that you are not as kind or as caring as you used to be. But the truth is, growth always challenges relationships. The people who truly love and respect you will support your decision to value yourself, while those who only benefited from your lack of boundaries may pull away. It can be difficult to accept that not everyone will approve of your choices. The desire to be liked, accepted, and understood is deeply ingrained in human nature. No one wants to feel rejected or isolated. But Jesus himself experienced rejection. He was not always welcomed, not always celebrated, not always understood. Even in his hometown, people questioned him. The very people he came to save were the ones who turned against him. But he did not let their opinions stop him from fulfilling his purpose. He did not change who he was to gain their approval. He stayed true to his calling, knowing that his mission was not to please people, but to follow the will of God. In the same way, you must learn to stand firm, even when others do not agree with your decisions. If your boundaries cause someone to walk away, let them. If your refusal to be manipulated offends someone, do not let guilt pull you back into old patterns. The relationships meant to last will not be built on how much you can sacrifice for someone else's comfort. True friendships, true love, and true respect will honor the boundaries you set. They will recognize that you are not rejecting them, you are simply choosing to live in alignment with your own values and priorities. God has never called you to live under the pressure of constantly pleasing others. He has called you to walk in wisdom, to be led by His Spirit, and to live with a heart that is both loving and strong. There is nothing wrong with wanting to help others, with being generous or with being compassionate. But there is a difference between serving others out of love and being controlled by the fear of their rejection. The moment you begin to seek approval more than you seek God's direction, you have placed yourself in bondage. But when you break free from that need for validation, you begin to experience the true peace that comes from knowing that God's approval is all that truly matters. When you make the decision to live with confidence, knowing that you are worthy of respect and balance, you will begin to notice a shift in your life. You will attract people who value you, not just for what you can do for them, but for who you are. You will find joy in relationships that are built on mutual care and understanding rather than one-sided sacrifice. And most importantly, you will strengthen your relationship with God. As you walk in the truth that your worth is not determined by how much you give, but by the fact that you are His child, created with purpose and love without condition. No matter who stays or who walks away, you are never alone. The people who truly belong in your life will accept you with the boundaries you set. And even if some choose to leave, God will never leave you. He will guide you, strengthen you, and surround you with the right people at the right time. The more you trust in Him and the plan He has for your life, the more you will find freedom in knowing that your worth does not depend on how much you do for others. It depends on the love and purpose He has placed within you. There comes a time in life when you must decide who you are truly living for. Are you living to be accepted by others, constantly shaping yourself to fit their expectations? Or are you living in alignment with the purpose God has placed within you? The moment you stop seeking validation from people and start walking in the confidence of who God created you to be, everything changes. You begin to experience freedom. You begin to understand that your worth is not tied to how much you do for others, but is found in the simple truth that you are loved, chosen, and created for something greater. It is not an easy journey. Saying no when you have always said yes, setting boundaries when you have always been available, choosing yourself when you have always put others first. These changes will not always be met with applause. There will be moments of doubt, moments when you wonder if you are doing the right thing, moments when the pressure to back to your old ways feels overwhelming. But growth requires discomfort. Strength is built in the moments when you choose to stand firm, even when it would be easier to give in. There will be people who misunderstand your transformation. Some will say you have changed, and they will be right, you've changed. But not in the way they think. You have not become less loving, less kind, or less compassionate. Instead, you have become wiser, stronger, and more intentional about where you invest your time and energy. You are no longer willing to pour into others while leaving yourself empty. You are no longer willing to sacrifice your peace for the sake of pleasing people. You are no longer willing to live in a way that dishonors the purpose God has given you. God did not place you on this earth to live in a constant state of exhaustion, guilt, and self-sacrifice that leaves you drained. He has called you to live in balance, to love others without losing yourself in the process. He has given you the wisdom to discern which relationships are healthy and which ones only take from you without giving anything in return. He has given you the strength to walk away from what no longer serves you and to embrace the freedom of living in truth. When you begin to live this way, something powerful happens. You start to see the difference between relationships built on genuine love and those built on convenience. You start to recognize the people who truly care about you, the ones who respect your boundaries and celebrate your growth. And you also see those who only stayed because they benefited from your inability to say no. Some will leave, but let them. Some will criticize you, but do not let their words shake you, because those who are meant to walk with you on this journey will understand. They will support you, encourage you, and appreciate the person you are becoming. Above all, God will honor your decision to live in alignment with His will. He will guide you, strengthen you, and surround you with the right people at the right time. He will replace relationships that drained you with ones that uplift you. He will restore what was lost and renew what was broken. And in the process, you will find peace, not the fragile peace that comes from avoiding conflict, but the lasting peace that comes from knowing you are living in truth. So walk forward with confidence. Stand firm in the knowledge that your worth is not measured by how much you do for others, but by the purpose and love God has placed within you. Trust that the right people will stay, that the wrong ones will fall away, and that God will never leave you. Because when you choose to live in truth, in strength, and in wisdom, you are no longer just surviving, you are stepping into the life you were always meant to live.